You got to lose yourself sometimes in order to find yourself. And Jesus concluded in that 16th chapter, verses 26 and 27, by asking this question: what does it profit a man or a woman to gain the whole world and mess around and lose their own soul? Or what shall a man or a woman give in exchange for their own soul? And the answer is nothing. Jesus was suggesting that what does it profit to say that I have all the tangible success in the world, but you still end up busting the bottom out of hell? And sometimes you got to say, I may not have this, but I'm so glad for what I do have. And that is a relationship with Jesus Christ. Is there anybody here this morning that says, I'm glad that I have a relationship with Jesus Christ? I may not have all the money I want, but I'm glad I've got a relationship with Jesus Christ. I may not drive the fancy cars, but I'm glad that I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I may not live where I want to live, but I'm glad that I have a relationship with Christ, because I understand that in the final analysis of everything, all these tangibles are going to fade away. The silver and the gold going to fade away. And the songwriter was right. Only what you do for Christ is going to last. You can build your cathedrals grand or small, but only what you do for Christ will last. That was the first time. The second time was in Matthew chapter 17, 14 through 23. Jesus had just healed a man's son who was possessed with a demon that caused him to suffer severely. And oftentimes his son would fall into the fire and the water. This man had taken his son to Jesus' disciples. I mean, after all, they were going to church every Sunday. After all, they had been to seminary with Jesus. After all, they hung out with Jesus. And so they said, well, surely, if anybody can heal my son, it has to be Jesus' disciples. I mean, they've been walking with the anointed one. They've been walking with the Holy One. And so he takes his son to the disciples. But the problem is that even though they've been hanging out in church, they really didn't have all the power and the Holy Ghost deep down on the inside. Oh, I said something you'll catch it next week. That it is possible to hang out in church and still not have the Holy Ghost power. Oh, I'm looking for somebody that said, I came to worship this morning. Yeah, it's possible to know every verse from Genesis 1 to Revelation 21 and still not be filled with Holy Ghost power. It's possible to go through the parade and to go through the charade and to go through the motions. And it's possible to know all the spiritual lingo. It's possible to know when to shout. It's possible to know when to jump up and down. It's possible to throw up your hands on cue, but after all of that, still be empty on the inside. The disciples had this problem. They had walked with Jesus, but when this man brought his son to them and said, he's possessed with a demon, they prayed, but nothing happened. It bothered them so much. It bothered them so much that they asked in verse 19, Jesus, what's up with that? Why couldn't we heal this man's son? And Jesus informed them, it is because of your unbelief. Jesus said it's because of your unbelief. Jesus said the problem is you prayed, but you really didn't believe I could hear and answer prayer. The problem is you said all the right words, but you really didn't believe that the thing you were praying for would begin to manifest itself. Somebody here this morning, you're wondering when God gonna hear and answer your prayer. And God just sent me a text message to give to you and said, tell them that when they start praying and belief that I can do what they asking me to do, not only will I do what they asking me to do, but exceedingly abundantly I'll bless them. Oh, God, beyond their wildest expectations. Yeah, Jesus says that if you want to increase in your faith, then you're going to have to commit to a lifestyle of praying and fasting. God, yeah. He said, if you want more power, you're going to have to commit to a lifestyle of praying and fasting. And if you want to see some changes begin to happen around you, you're going to have to commit to a lifestyle of praying and fasting. Jesus said, this type of thing only happens through praying and through fasting. And I think there's somebody here this morning that says that I haven't been pushing my plate back during this Lent season, to come out of Lent season the same way I went into Lent season. But I think there's somebody here this morning to say, when I come out of Lent season, I'm coming out with more power. Oh, God, is there anybody here this morning? Somebody here this morning say, I ain't turning down barbecue just to come out the same way I went into Lent season. I ain't eating nothing but fruits and vegetables just to come out the same way I went into Lent season. I ain't turning down McCormick and Smith's and Lawry's just so I can come out the same way that nah. When I come out Lent season, I've got to come out with more power. I've got to come out where I can speak to things and see change begin to happen. I've got to come out of this thing that says when somebody is sick, I can lay my hands on them and they shall be healed. I've got to come out this Lent season believing that though the vision tarry, if I wait, it shall come to pass. I ain't going through this just to be going through it, but I'm coming out and I'm coming out with more power. Look at somebody and say, I'm coming out with more power. And almost as if Jesus was then requiring them to pray and fast for what was to come. In verses 22 and 23 of chapter 17 of Matthew, Jesus tells them again, my purpose for coming is drawing nigh. Well, it's now in Matthew chapter 20, 17 through 19, that Jesus has predicted his death and resurrection, the purpose for him coming a third time. And he informs his disciples in Matthew chapter 20, 17 through 19, that in a few days I'm headed toward Jerusalem. But I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days I'm going to be betrayed. But I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days they're going to condemn me. But I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days they're going to deliver me into the hands of my enemies. But I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days I'm going to be crucified, but I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days, they're going to nail my hand to a cross, but I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days, they're going to pierce me in my side, but I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days, they're going to drive a nail through my feet, but I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days, they're going to crush a crown of thorns on my head that's going to break open my skin, and blood and sweat and tears going to mingle together. But I don't want you to worry about anything. In a few days, they're going to put me in a borrowed tomb. But don't worry about anything. I'm going to be there all night Friday. But don't worry about anything. I'm going to be there early Saturday morning, but don't you worry about anything. All night Saturday, I'm going to still be there, but don't you worry about anything, because early Sunday morning, I'm going to get up. That's what I want to tell somebody. I don't care what you're in the midst of going through. Don't worry about it. Resurrection time is getting ready to break out in your life. Look at somebody and say, neighbor, I don't know what you're going through, but don't worry about it. Find somebody else to say, neighbor, don't know what you're going through, but be anxious for nothing, because in due season, you're going to reap if you faint not. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I just want to tell you, don't faint in the midst of going through. Don't throw in the towel in the midst of going through, because resurrection time is right around the corner.